Hello, and welcome back for another adventure in the cookie jar. Today we're doing the 9th recipe from the Carrot Cake Murder. It is the red velvet cookies with cream cheese frosting. Covers 3 pages of the book. You are preheating the oven to 375. We want 2 1-ounce squares unsweetened baking chocolate, half a cup of 1 stick butter at room temperature, 2/3 cup brown sugar firmly packed, 1/3 of a cup white sugar, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 large egg, 1 tablespoon red food coloring, 3/4 cup sour cream, 2 cups of flour, 1 cup a 6-ounce package semi-sweet chocolate chips. We will be lining the baking trays with parchment paper or foil, depending on what you have. It does say to spray them as well with a nonstick cooking spray. You're going to melt the unsweetened baking squares in the microwave for 90 seconds and then let those cool while we make the dough for the cookies. Essentially, we're going to combine most of the ingredients together, and then half the flour, then all the sour cream, half the flour. It does say teaspoons of dough onto the paper. I'm using the same cookie scooper I always use. I think it's more than a teaspoon, probably 2 teaspoons. So we'll probably get less cookies than it says. It says bake them for exactly 9 minutes, and then you're pulling them off the parchment paper onto the cooling rack, and then from the cooling rack, you pull them off the parchment paper to put them on wax paper to frost. For the cream cheese frosting, you're going to want 1/4 cup of softened butter, half a stick, 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, an 8-ounce package, half of an 8-ounce package. Half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 cups confectioner's sugar, no need to sift unless it's got big lumps. It says to mix the softened butter with the softened cream cheese, add vanilla, add the confectioner's sugar in half-cup increments. And it does have a note, if you really want to pull out all the stops, brush the top of the baked cookies with raspberry jam, let it dry, and then frost the cookies. And it does say you'll get about 3 dozen. But we will see how many we end up with. Everything is all laid out. Let's get started. This is everything we'll be needing for these cookies and the icing today. It does say to break up the squares of baking chocolate. So once you have your squares broken up, I ended up cutting up mine. They go in the microwave for 90 seconds. While we wait on the chocolate, we're adding the stick of butter, the brown sugar, and the regular sugar. Pull that in, and we're just going to let that mix. The chocolate is very hot when it comes out. 90 seconds gets it perfectly melted. We want the baking soda and the salt to go in next. Next is the egg. Then we have the food coloring. Okay, this is the part where you're supposed to add the melted chocolate, but this is still really hot, and I have a feeling it will cook the eggs for sure if I add it right now. So I'm going to give this a couple more minutes to cool off. I might even stick it in the fridge, and then we'll add it in. I stuck it in the freezer for a couple minutes. I can comfortably hold it, so it should be that hot. I'm going to drizzle it in. Half of the flour. Then we have the sour cream. It does say to scrape it down and then to add the rest of the flour. Give it one more mix around the top to get the flour off. And then we're adding in the chocolate chips. And while it does seem stiffer than a cake mix, it seems very loose still for a cookie dough. So I am hesitant about that. Tray. I don't have any more parchment paper, so I grabbed the foil, sprayed it with the nonstick spray. We have our cookie scoop. This is one of those, apparently you really have to be careful where you scoop it because you will not be able to move it later. Right, and that is the first tray. I will just scoop them up the rest and we'll see how many we get. I have finished scooping up the cookies. We got exactly 4 dozen. I will now bake them starting at 9 minutes and we'll see how long they take. So these have been out of the oven for a couple minutes now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the raspberry syrup and just brush it over the top of them. On the wire rack to finish cooling, and we will get started on the icing. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is we're taking the cream cheese with the half a stick of butter, and we're going to let those mix. Then I'm going to pour in the vanilla. So as to mix in the powdered sugar in half-cup increments. That does not look like enough icing to cookie ratio, but we will see. Our cookies are cooled. They have been jellied, but they're shiny. We have our frosting made. It does not seem like a lot of frosting to cookie ratio. That does concern me a little bit. They have all been iced. This is what they look like. So these are the red velvet cake cookies. Now, most of the cakes that we have made into a cookie have been really good. So hopefully these are just as good. They're nice and they're fluffy. They look like they're going to be moist, so that's good. So big country the chocolate chip. I like these. I like these a lot. And I think that the raspberry jam on top really adds a nice touch. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that or not, but I'm glad I did. These are really, really good. You taste red velvet cake when you eat them. So overall, they did take a while to mix together. They did take a while to bake. Mine took 12 minutes per batch. They, of course, had to cool, then the jam had to dry, and then the frosting. So overall, they did take a couple of hours to put together. And it's not the biggest batch in the world. You only get 40. My husband's sneaking a cookie and knocking things over. But I would make them again for sure. Now, next week, we will be doing the Rocky Road S'more bar cookies. So if you're interested in seeing those, join us next week. I hope you have a good one. Bye.